Is it a blessing or a curse for Lord Alan Sugar to be your business partner?
He wasn't friendly. He didn't care about your family. He didn't care about what happened outside of the business meeting. You sat down, you spoke business, you left. I will criticize Lord Sugar, but I have the utmost respect for Lord Sugar.
What did you learn about yourself when you were going through the adversity?
It's okay to go to rock bottom, but it's not okay to stay there.
You hated your dad.
He left when I was 13 and I wanted him to leave. I hated him because he was an alcoholic. He didn't work. He was a horrible person to me most of the time, my sister and my mum.
The Apprentice winner, Joseph Valente, joins me here at Woodbury House Art Gallery in Mayfair for an exclusive podcast talk. We speak all things Lord Alan Sugar, starting the business, losing it all, and then bouncing back. And we speak about his ventures today. Be happy, never content, and make sure you subscribe.
Right, welcome back to my podcast, The Stephen Siley Study. We're here in Mayfair, Woodbury House. Got a friend, next podcast guest, Mr. Joseph Valente. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for giving up your Saturday. I know you just come from a big business meeting, and I'm very much looking forward to this podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I've been very much looking forward to coming on, actually. I know we've taken a little bit of time to set it up, and I appreciate you accommodating me on Saturday and giving me your time as well. So
I like to ask the guests, because my podcast studio is at the gallery.
Yeah.
And I always take the opportunity, if I can pitch somebody or educate somebody, regardless whether they buy or not, the natural salesperson in me just kicks in and I have to do it. I like doing it. I get a bit of a thrill out of it. But putting that to one side, walking through the Mayfair Gallery, looking at Defra's artwork up on the wall and getting a bit of history behind us and also the street art movement. What's your thoughts?
I was quite inspired. It's not really something it's not an environment I've put myself in the past. You know, I don't go to art galleries. I don't know that much about art. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do. So you give me the backstory and understanding of how, you know, the specific art that you're involved in, street art, is created, and the three artists that you work with, and how, you know, their work becomes valuable in the marketplace. As the natural entrepreneur, the first thing I want to know is, how much do you sell it for? And how much margin are you making? And then as soon as you say that, you know, piece is 10x or 100x when, you know, certain things happen, that's very, very interesting to me, because I'm associating it to the numbers. And of course, you know, the work is fantastic. I think what I need to learn about art is how to appreciate art. And understand art. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
How to look at a piece of art and appreciate that art. And again, it's not something that I'm very educated on or understand, but I'm sure you're going to be able to point me in the right direction. And also, I'm interested in art being a return on investment. You know, I know you can buy pieces that can seriously grow in value, and that's a great way to put a great investment strategy for your money at times. So I'd love to learn about that stuff as well on another time.
Yeah, it's a passion asset. Watches, classic cars, fine art. It's better than leaving your money in the bank where inflation's killing it, and people do buy art to appreciate, to enjoy, to even brag to their friends and family that they got it. But also, I think the last box that has to be ticked for them when purchasing something of £160,000 is, can it make me a good return over the next 5 or 10 years?
And I do like what you said is about that your art gallery is a place where people can feel comfortable and not intimidated. You go into the high-end stores in London, whether you've got money or you haven't got money. I've been into those stores when I haven't had money, and I've been into those stores when I've got money. And there is always that immediate judgment as whether you can afford to be in there or not. So I'm sure there's many, many people that wouldn't ever dare dream step into an art gallery. And so it's great that you're creating an environment where people can feel comfortable. I think that's really great.
Yeah, thanks, mate. So I know you're probably best known for your time and winning the Apprentice in 2015. How did your life change when you won the Apprentice in 2015? Great
question. So you can imagine, I grew up in a village. It's a big village, but it's a village. And that's in a city that's in, that's got, I don't know, maybe 100,000 residents, Peterborough. It's not a huge city, right? And then all of a sudden, I was being seen by 10 million people a week. It was big views back then, and social media views weren't a thing. So when you're on TV, you're really, really known because that's where everybody's attention was. So I was a young guy, I'd come from a small town, and all of a sudden I was just propelled into this fame in the UK where everybody knew me. I'd got a billionaire business partner, probably the most recognized business mogul in the UK and obviously very well known across the globe. The biggest business TV show that's out there. And I won it. And it was just insane. The attention, the energy, the opportunity, it just blew up. And it was one of the best periods of my life. I got great business attention. I got great female attention. And the possibilities were endless. And, a 25-year-old guy that wanted fame got it. And it was very, very good.
How do you plan for fame?
Great question. And I think it's a dangerous game if you're not careful. It's a very, very dangerous game because there isn't anybody to prepare you for it. And at that time, it's not like I didn't really have any mentors at that time. And I had a pretty rough teenage years and pretty rough early 20s. And, I was a bit of an outlaw. And it I didn't really have a dad there or anyone to guide me through it or make sense of what was happening. And you can get swallowed up and spat out by something like that if you're not careful. You see what happens to all these guys that go on reality TV shows. Unfortunately, there's been many cases where individuals have committed suicide. It's so sad, and to see and watch. And maybe that's because of the pressure, the financial commitments they're put under, having to keep up with the appearance of building a brand is a real challenge for some people. And they're not used to the attention and the trolling and the hate we know some people can't take. So I think that you've got to get good people around you to keep you grounded. And I definitely took off, I hit the ground and then I went up and then I hit the ground and I went up probably a few times along that way. And I'm probably still feeling some of that still now, even after all these years. It was such a buzz. It was such a fucking high that when you go up, you know what's coming after. You're going to come crashing down. And when I won, it was just like the ultimate. It was the fucking ultimate. And then when it all stopped, it was like, because every week it was a build-up for like 11 weeks, right? Every week it was just getting higher and higher and higher, and I was getting more and more famous, and I knew what was coming, and then all of a sudden the show just stops. And then you get attention after that, but the media then starts to stop very, very quickly. And then the realization was that I had to go back and run a plumbing business. And I was getting sucked up into all this fame and, being in London and going to these shows and awards and, events and all of that type of stuff. And that's not realistic. That doesn't pay the bills. And, that's not a lifestyle that you can maintain. You have to get serious about your day job as well. So that was very difficult for me. I kind of did come back to reality. And I think I went on a mission to find the next buzz for many, many years after that.
So becoming Lord Alan Sugar's business partner, is it a blessing or a curse for Lord Alan Sugar to be your business partner? Okay, is it a blessing or a curse for me? Yeah, okay, good. I mean, it's definitely a blessing. There's nothing that I can say that's there were challenges, but it definitely, I would be the most ungrateful individual if I sit here and said that I will criticize Lord Sugar, but I have the utmost respect for Lord Sugar. He picked me. He chose me. He didn't have to, right? He took a punt on me. And God knows I'm a wild card, and I was a wild card back then for sure for him, and he still went with it. So got the utmost respect. Now, I didn't get what I expected to get from him, but I still got the opportunity, which changed my life, and I forever got that title. So, we weren't friends. He wasn't friendly. He didn't care about your family. He didn't care about what happened outside of the business meeting. You sat down, you spoke business, you left. There was no hellos, no goodbyes. How's your day been? It was literally the most savage I've ever interacted with somebody up until that point. I didn't know there were people out there that were that tough and that ruthless and with so little empathy. But you know what? I fucking loved it.
because I don't like to small talk in a lot of cases. I like to talk, but I don't like to small talk. And I know where you stand with a guy like that. There's no bullshit. There's no lying in him, and you know where you stand, which I appreciate. I'll tell you a story. Christmas morning, because I won the show on the 23rd of December. Christmas morning on the 25th of December, I got to my mum's. She handed me a glass of Bucks Fizz, drank it, and got started to feel a little bit tipsy. So I was like, right, I'm going to email him. So I emailed him and I said, Lord Sugar, thank you so much for the opportunity. You've changed my life. This is going to be the most amazing thing that's ever happened. I won't let you down, blah, 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 blah. No joke, on Christmas morning, I got back something like, don't ever email me anything like that again. Only respond to me in bullet point format. And that was it. I was like, whoa, on Christmas Day, I went and showed my mum, and she was like, geez, now you know who you're dealing with. And so, definitely wasn't a curse, definitely was a blessing, had its challenges, but I am a greater man for that experience.
Part of the reason why I asked you this question is I've been very, very blessed to interview a lot of good people, people like yourself and people in the sports field, etc. One of the individuals that you definitely know is Mr. Mark Wright. He's been on twice now. The second episode isn't actually out yet.
Nice.
And he recently has just sold his company with Lord Alan Sugar for reported, according to the Sun newspaper, which I can't say they're the most accurate, for £10 million. And he did say to me, and you could probably vouch for this, that what you see on TV is actually how he is. He's very direct and he can be blunt at times, but he's black and white. And the good thing about that is, like you said, your quote, you know exactly where you stand with them. With an individual like that, there must have been spats, rows, and big disagreements. Can you share any disagreements that you had with Alan Sugar?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was the first apprentice to buy him out. So, I ended the relationship on my terms. I was the first one. And, I am a rule breaker. I hate authority. I was kicked out of school when I was 14 and a half. My dad left when I was 13. I haven't been used to anybody telling me what to do for a very, very, very long time. Then to all of a sudden go into that world where you have a figure that effectively thinks they're in charge of you, Lord Sugar or not, I don't back down either. I remember going into one of the board meetings. And before he started, he said, right, can you stop fucking posting on Twitter every single day with these motivational quotes and all of this bullshit? I brought you in as my business partner to run a fucking plumbing company. I didn't bring you in here to spend all your time on social media. Literally screamed in my face like that. And I was like, whoa, listen, you're my business partner. You're not my dad. Please don't tell me how I should operate outside of my business. That was one thing. There were other instances where you basically get with the investment, you get the money, they give you the money. Within a week, $250,000 landed in my account after the show. They honor that. They do charge you back for all of the services that they apparently give you, the finance, the BR, all of that type of stuff, and they charge through the nose for it and start clawing back their investment very quickly. But there was an FD, an assistant FD, and this junior accountant guy, and they were Lord Sugar's yes men. And they were like trying to throw me under the bus at times. It was almost like they were reporting back to him on me. And so in the board meetings, I was like, why are you talking to him like you're trying to get me in trouble? Don't bring information to the board meeting that I haven't seen, so I can't explain myself to Lord Sugar to try and pull me out. So I would go at those guys, but do you know what? I fucking absolutely loved it. It was ruthless. It was like this amazing environment that just made me be able to sit around. Imagine how much that grows you as an individual. I mean, I had a £500,000 business when I went on that show, but I was a plumber running a plumbing company, and I used to get nervous going into a meeting with an owner of an estate agent or whatever, right? So then all of a sudden I'm sat with him, and one of the things I took away from that was I don't fear any meeting now. I can go and present in front of anybody, and they won't be as scary as that guy was. And then one day, 2 years on, I'd spent quite a bit of the money. The business had grown to over $1 million in 12 months, so I doubled in size. I'd learned all the lessons they could give me about financial infrastructure, but they couldn't give me any more. There wasn't anything else. And then I was going to board meetings and they'd say, right, what are we going to do now? What's our plan? What's our move? I said, I got into this, not for you to teach me how to do accounts, but for you to guide me on how to build a national business and how to scale and become like you. I want to be like you. I read your book and I want to build Amstrad and I want to follow in your footsteps. And I thought we were going to go on to conquer the world together, not be like this business that's just got a little bit of time. How naive I was. And so I said, look, I'm getting sick and tired of coming here every single month and you're asking me for the answers. I haven't got the answers. If I had the answers, I wouldn't have needed you, right? So you're either going to help me or you're not going to help me. Because at the time, I was pushing to scale faster. Yeah, I want to grow all the time. And they were telling me to slow down. May have been the right advice, yeah? But the reality is, it wasn't the advice that I wanted to hear because I didn't believe they wanted me to not grow because of playing it safe. I believe they didn't want me to grow because they weren't interested in being involved. So I said to him, I know you don't want me to scale because you think it might be a risk and that the business could fail. If you're not all in and you don't want to grow with me, then let me buy you out and I'll take it alone. And if it fucks up, I'll take the responsibility for it. And you walk away scot-free. So get out now because I want to grow. Yeah. And he looked back at me and said, no one's ever spoke to me like that. I respect you for what you said. Come back to you in 48 hours. Came back to me in 48 hours. It was 2017. I'd only been in business with him for 2 years. And he said, we'll do a deal. He did me a very, very good deal. Can't disclose the amount, but it was a good deal. And I bought back the shares. And then I became the sole owner again. And I had about 30 to 40 people working for me around that period. And obviously it was still quite fresh. Only one other winner had won since then. So I was still very much in the limelight with that type of stuff. And I had to go back and tell my team and everything else. And, you know, I initiated it. And I remember thinking, geez, have I done the right thing here? You know, it was a ballsy, brave move to do it, but I wanted the shackles off and I thought, fuck it, I want to go for it. You know, I really want to make it by the time I'm 30. I'm building a multi-million pound business or I'm going to fail. I ain't here to plod along. And that's what I went and did.
Yeah. So the company was called Impra Gas.
Impra Gas.
Yeah. He obviously bought in 50%. Mm-hmm. And then obviously you hit the ground running and you pushed on. You mentioned Charlie Mullins. Mm-hmm. He's been on my podcast twice. I think he's a great guy. He's a ball of energy. He's nuts, but he's an inspiring man.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit like you. I've got my sights on becoming a billionaire. I do not know how I'm going to achieve it, but I always say to myself, keep on pushing with that narrative, because even if you don't get to billionaire status and you sell out at 500 million, you've done really, really well.
Absolutely.
But Charlie Mullins, close to 150 million, that's still a very, very good achievement. Mm-hmm. Did you ever believe that Impra Gas could be as big as Pimlico Plumbers?
Yes, and I believed I could dominate them. Absolutely.
Why?
Because that's who I am, and I wouldn't do anything. I want to be number one in everything, so I'm going in to fucking win. You know, I don't give a fuck who Charlie Mullins is, and I love him and I know him very well. But, you know, back then I didn't know him, but it doesn't matter to me. It's like anyone that's in my way is going to get crushed. I'm going for pure domination. I want to be number one. That's how I operate. That's what turns me on. That's what excites me. I'm not here to take part. I remember I took a lot of inspiration from Charlie Mullins. Impra was built on the same ethos that Pimlico had. I watched a documentary on Channel 4 when I was like 16 or 17 of Charlie Mullins, and they had this Pimlico Bible and their brand. And I remember going into Impra. When I started the company, I went in to build a brand. I didn't go in to build a service business. I went in and built a brand. I chose Impra because I didn't want to call it JV's Plumbing and Heating, because Impra Gas meant national corporation, and that could be a big business. And you know, I went in. I used to go to meetings in a pinstripe suit with a briefcase and looking like a investment banker, and I'd be walking into your local estate agent to pitch him a service contract or a maintenance contract. And I went in, and I remember early days they used to look in my eyes and go, who the fuck is this guy? And it meant that I was breaking the norm in the industry, because everybody else went in as dirty tradesmen. I remember what he said. Tradesmen go in with the trousers around their backside, dirty, late, unorganized. If you can do the basics right, you will blow up. Don't invent the wheel. Don't reinvent the wheel, just modify the wheel. And I followed a lot of his advice, and Impra became a very, very big business. So our national footprint was bigger than Pimlico's. I operated in every major city in the UK. I operated across the country. Pimlico operated in London. So they had a bigger turnover and they had more staff and they were much more profitable than I was. But in terms of the size of the footprint, Impra did 6,000 boiler installations across the year, each year, every year. So we were a very, very big business. But his business was a lot better than mine. It took 40 years to build his, though. I built a national company in 2. Yeah, he did it in 40, so it goes to show that, and he exited with 100 million, and, we'll probably talk about what happened to mine, but, I did it in 2 years, and so, he played the very, very long game, did it slow, long-term reputation and everything, but you know what, Stephen, I didn't want to be a plumber, and I didn't want to run a plumbing company for the rest of my life. I wanted out as fast as possible. I'd had a taste of a different life. Trade is amazing. I love trade. Being in trade saved me. Boiler is a great business. We train businesses now how to build boiler businesses, but they won't make you a billionaire. And you have to understand the opportunity vehicle that you're in. And if you can see that the opportunity vehicle isn't going to get you there, you either get to the end of your life and you're disappointed, or you get out of the vehicle and get into one that will take you there before your time runs out. We're playing a time game. We've got a time frame of what we can achieve. And if we spend too long in the wrong thing, then we're never going to get to the next destination. And my uncle told me, he was one of my early mentors, and I remember sitting with him at 23, and my business was doing a couple of $100,000 a year, $300,000 a year. And I said to him, Tim, I'm working like a dog. I'm 7 days a week non-stop. I've got a couple of plumbers working for me, but how am I going to get rich from this? How am I going to get there? I can't work any harder. I can scale these numbers, but it's not going to do it. And he says to me, right, what you don't understand is the game of opportunity vehicles. And this is a journey, right? And your destination, your vehicle isn't Impra to get where you want to get to. But what you need to know is when to exit, Joe. You need to know when to get out and get into the next one. So you leave your house, you get into the taxi takes you to the bus station, the bus takes you to the train station, the train takes you to the airport takes you across the other side of the world. And each one of those vehicles can travel a little bit further and go a longer distance and carries you in a different way, but you've got to know when to get out your opportunity, because if you try to take a taxi to Australia, you're going to get to Dover and you're going to fall in the sea. So not every business is designed to take you there. And wow, what a lesson. It took me 8 years to learn that lesson. I wish I learned it earlier.
A powerful, powerful analogy, that. And it's one I'm definitely going to be using and remember.
Good.
So I've listened to a few of your interviews before. Yeah. And there's obviously what I saw on TV with The Apprentice. There's obviously what I see on social media. There's the interaction we've got now. You've got this passion. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it's because you're part Italian or what, but the passion, there's a bit of aggression under there. Mm-hmm. There's confidence, there's this brashness. And I think that can serve a lot of good entrepreneurs, good salespeople, and you can achieve a lot of things like that. But you did mention something in some of your podcasts, a bit of being a bit vulnerable, which was you need to find stuff and you can easily get bored, because if you don't find that thing to keep on giving you the hit, you can easily find yourself going into depression. And it's a bit of a weird thing to think that someone like yourself, who's very confident, I could ever think that you could actually fall into depression. So tell me a bit more about that. What do you actually have moments where you feel really depressed?
Absolutely. I mean, I do think that I might be bipolar. I've definitely got ADHD. I might have bipolar. I'm just so up and down. If I'm really happy, I'm really happy. If I'm not, I'm really not. And I have to constantly be focused on the next achievement to keep feeding the energy so that I feel like I'm growing. The second that I become stale or I feel like I'm not moving forward, it's not a good place. I go into a dark, dark place. And I'm really good at snapping out of it, but I do go, I'm either really up or I'm really down. I probably don't show the downside, but I feel it inside. I hide it very, very well, but I have to feed the fucking beast, and that's what it probably is. It's the beast needs feeding. I listened to Tyson Fury's his first book or his second one. I can't remember what it was, but it was around the time. It was after his second match or his first match with Deontay Wilder. And, he'd say that he'd have this real, elevated feeling. Then all of a sudden he'd be in darkness. It didn't matter what he'd achieved. He'd win the championship and then all of a sudden he felt empty and it felt like nothing. And I have that feeling, and a lot of people have asked me, go and see somebody, go and go to a counselor, go to speak to someone. And I never have, because I just keep moving forward. And probably I should do, because it is very impactful, but you just get used to managing it. But that emptiness, and all of a sudden I really struggle to appreciate the things that I've done for very long. Like The Apprentice, it was like, done it, right, it's done. As soon as it was done, it was over and I wanted the next thing. And it was like, I've done that now, so what? I'm not going to get hung up on that. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I think that's a blessing and a curse, because naturally it drives me to always go for more, because I'm not content for a second, but it also means that I'm constantly living my life in a state of I'm just not happy with where I currently am. And that's not good for relationships. It's not good for people around me a lot of the times. And, it makes me unpredictable, I suppose, in some scenarios. But yeah, it's a difficult game, because when you want such big things, if you don't get them, then, it can be damaging. And if you're content, you don't chase the big things. So you can't have it all, right?
The two quotes that I pulled from one of your conversations is, you said that when you were younger, you were an angry kid. And then the other one that you said, because I don't know much about this other part of the story, is you hated your dad. Yeah. How true is that?
I mean, I hate to talk about him too much now, because he died last year. And he died. Well. Thank you. And he died. Not in the greatest way. He was an alcoholic. His life was really bad, and I hadn't seen him for many, many years, and he wasn't living in a great place, and it was horrible, really. But he left when I was 13, and I wanted him to leave. I hated him because he was an alcoholic. He didn't work. He was a horrible person to me most of the time, my sister and my mum. And it was just horrendous. You lived in fear a lot of time as we were brought up. You lived in fear. When somebody drinks so much, they're so unpredictable. And so you're constantly living in fear. You never know what's going to happen, what he's going to be like when you get back from school. And that was every day for years and years and years. And so, that really does take its toll on your family. And I saw how he treated my mum, and I fucking hated him for it. And I wanted him gone as soon as possible. He left at 13. I didn't see him. I saw him one or two times, and then I didn't see him for years and years and years. Showed up in my life when I was 28 years of age. After all the Apprentice stuff and everything else, never heard from him. And, just like there was nothing. There was no cards. There was no contact. And showed up in my life at 28. I was doing very well financially. And he called me out of the blue, and he was messaging me on Facebook and all this type of stuff. And he was, he needed money, effectively, and I knew what he wanted, and I gave it to him at the time. He was homeless at the time. He was staying in he was moving for all of the time. He wasn't living on the streets, but he was moving, and I had some houses at the time, so I put him into one of my houses, and he used to ring me drunk all the time, giving me grief, and I just ended up making him leave the house, and cut him out of my life again. It was very difficult to let him back in, and then I had to cut him out again, but my dad had died for me when he left, which is a sad thing to say, but he was dead to me when he left. And, I made peace with that demon all of those years through my teens and through my early 20s. And then when he died, it really impacted my sister because she saw him, but I didn't see him. So, I didn't get too emotional about it, and I'm not emotional about it now. It is what it is. I am really disappointed and really sad that I wasn't a bigger man and I couldn't have gone. I went to the house where he was living and it wasn't good. And, you know, I do live well and I have money and I could have looked after him better, but I tried to, and he just chucked it in my face. So I felt disappointed in myself. I felt disappointed in the fact that I should have gone. I never got to make peace. And granted, he's my dad, but I'm now a 33-year-old man. I'm a bigger man. I should have gone and I didn't, and now it's too late. And now, you know, all your demon, everything is left unsaid, which is a very, very bitter pill to swallow. It doesn't matter what I say now. I can talk to him in heaven if he's there. But it does, you know, it's done, isn't it? So you move on. Life goes on.
So the reference of I was an angry kid.
Yeah.
Was that all to do with the scenario with your dad, or was you just an angry kid?
No, it was to do with him. It was to do with him because they were surrounded by anger. It was chaos. He was angry. He was aggressive. There was all arguments. It was always like that. So I probably took a lot from that, and there was major frustration. And then as you get older, you start to fight back. You know, I'm an alpha male, and I've got that. That started to grow in me. And, you know, so you start to get cheeky and you start to fight back, and, you know, then it causes loads of conflict. Then when I say an angry kid, I was more of an angry teenager, I was angry when I was, you know, a younger kid, but not when I was 6, 7, you know, but I was just waking up to what the fuck I was living like. But in my teens, my dad left, and then my mum found a new partner quite quickly after, and he moved in with us, and I fucking hated it. It was horrendous. It became very difficult for me. Then I became very angry, hated the world. Dad was gone, new figure in my house that I did not see eye to eye with. He's a great guy now, and I let my kid call him granddad, and my son's 18 months, and he looks after him, and he's great with him and everything else. So now I have a lot of respect for him, but then I was a lost young man, and I was changing, so I saw the world in a different way. So then I became very angry, and that's when my life spiraled out of control when I was a teenager, and for many, many years after that.
So being a young man, you always want to become a success. Money, something that you grew into.
Absolutely. I mean, I clicked on very, very early that something wasn't right in my household. And one of the big reasons was because I had a very successful uncle. My mum's brother, my uncle Tim, super successful guy. He came from nothing, but he's an entrepreneur and he's worked in corporates, and he became very successful, very wealthy. And he would come once or twice a year, and he would come in this suit. He was a tall guy. He walked in with presents. He had nice cars. But what I was addicted to was that he could buy what he wanted, because we couldn't go to McDonald's. We didn't go on holiday. We didn't do the simplest of things that you would take for granted now. And so he would come and take us to KFC once every 6 months. And it was like, you know, that for me, I remember just feeling we can just go and order KFC. What? We haven't got to struggle or whatever. And he used to buy us our TV. He bought us our hi-fi system. The reason that we had loads and loads of presents at Christmas in the early years was because of him. I'm careful when I talk about this because I don't want to disrespect my mum, because she worked 3 jobs and she did very well. And we didn't go without. We weren't really, really broke. Like, you know, we were in poverty, but we did really struggle. And I wanted everything I wanted. I was one of those kids that wanted everything. That wanted it, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't have it. I want it, so I want it, and that I'm still like that now. And and so I wanted it. I wanted the stuff, and I was like, right, well, there's this guy here making loads of money. There's this guy here who drinks 3 bottles of wine a night and doesn't go to work. I'm going to be like this guy. Yeah. And so I saw that there was a different way that you could operate. There was a different way that you could act. There was a different path in life if I chose to work out how to build wealth. And my mum deserved better. So I started Impra, my first business. One of the big reasons was for her, because I wanted to change her life and put her into retirement. And when I built that company and went all through the pain that I did, my goal was to put her into retirement and to pay off her mortgage. And I achieved that by the time I was 28. And that was one of my big drivers. You know, there's another story to tell about when that why disappears, you get lost again because you lose your purpose. But I knew very, very early on that I wanted to get rich. I knew very early on that I wanted to change my stars. And I do believe that there are many people out there, council estates, people struggling, and their family and everyone around them are all doing the same things. So they don't get to see somebody that's either their blood or familiar to them achieve success. So then guess what they do? They make excuses as to why they can't have it. Whereas I had my uncle. If I'd have had my uncle, I probably wouldn't have been inspired. I wouldn't have seen that there was a different life. And I would have said, all those people over the other side there, they were given it. They were given something else. The universe looked after them. They didn't look after me. They all went to private school, blah, 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 blah. You know, all these excuses as to why I couldn't be successful that so many people put up, I was able to overcome because my uncle showed me that there was another path. So yes, I wanted to be rich.
Yeah, so he gave you the inspiration.
Yeah.
So you didn't actually say these words, but you read Lord Alan Sugar's book, which is called What You See Is What You Get. And I've got to tell you, I've never actually heard of this book.
Yeah.
It's only when you said it in another interview that I thought to myself, I'm gonna get that. And by the way, what a title. I mean, what a great title that is. Then you end up going on to The Apprentice. Mm-hmm. You end up winning The Apprentice. You end up getting a £250,000 investment by Lord Alan Sugar. He became your business partner, and then you sort of ran with this business with him for a few years. Do you believe in the law of attraction?
Absolutely. And that was the reason that I won the show. Because my mum got me that book. I hadn't read a book since year 5, year 4. You know, I probably didn't even read that much then. And I just got back from Australia. I was a qualified gas engineer, quit my job at 21, flew out there, sold everything, went and lived my life, traveled around, had a great time, came home. Then it was a couple of months, it was Christmas. I was back in the same job, depressed, unmotivated, didn't know where I was going. Got me this book. I picked up the book and literally the first night I read it till 5 a.m. I must have done that much of the book. And it just changed my DNA. Like it literally lit a fire in me. I felt this change. I can't even describe it. My whole being just changed, and it was like this new awakening to that it was possible. We said before this show, you know, that there was, you know, when you see somebody that is actually, they're just human. They're not godlike that you put on a pedestal of why they've been successful. When you get to know them or you see their story, it becomes real. And it became real after reading that book because Lord Sugar came from nothing. I felt like I'd come from nothing. And if he could do it, then so could I. That's always been my attitude. If you can do it, then I can do it. And that gave me the permission after 2 weeks, because I read it over 2 weeks. I couldn't put the book down. I drove the people around me mad because I was just, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a billionaire. That was when all of that started. All of that narrative started, and it started to become real for me. So I quit my job on the 31st of December, took out a £15,000 loan from Tesco's overnight and started my business, Improgas. I had no business plan, didn't know about business. You know, I was a plumber, and this book inspired me to go for it. Fast forward 3 years. Yeah, I quit my job because of that book. 50 grand a year job. Everyone said I was crazy. They said I didn't know about business. They said I would screw it up. And, you know, what would go on when you'd risk all this money, taking out a 15 grand loan, like the people around me, that was loads of money to them at the time, you know. And it was like, it may as well have been £1 million. And 3 years later, that same billionaire, okay, I'd started the business off the back of reading his book, bought half of my company for 250 G's. Now, that isn't coincidence. I used to sit and watch The Apprentice, and I would tell everybody that I was going to win. Everyone that I was going to win. I used to vision it. I could see it. I'd spoke it into reality for so many years, and I just knew. I used to tweet Lord Sugar all the time. Thanks for the meeting. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait for our next meeting. Just like making up these, probably a bit weird and stalkerish now, thinking back about it. And when I won, they went back to 2013 and were publishing all of these tweets of me just randomly tweeting him saying thanks for the meeting and stuff, which never happened. And they said a story came out was The Apprentice winner picked many years before, and I'd never met the guy all these years before, but I was just putting it out into the universe, and eventually it returned. And the day I applied was 2015, 9th of January. Came into my kitchen, 9 o'clock. I'd had a really shit day. My business stood $500,000 a year. I had 7 plumbers working for me. I was working night and day, hit my ceiling, didn't know what to do next. I was demotivated, unmotivated. And then Lloyd Sugar's page came up on Facebook. Final call to apply for the Apprentice. And I shit you not, at that moment, I looked up and I knew the universe had sent me the sign. That was for me. And at that very moment, I believed already, whether people think I'm crazy or not, I believed already I'd won the show, because that was my moment. I believe that passionately about the universe that I believe it sent me that sign, and it said to me, fill that fucking form in, Joe. This is your opportunity.
That's powerful, mate. Look, business, there's obviously the stuff that we see on social media, documentaries, films, which is all the glitz, glamour, the money, the private jets, the lovely watches, the nice women, the everything. You know, this is the dream. That's what everybody goes after, okay? But people don't realise until you start your own business, the sacrifice and the emotional roller coaster. And I know you touched on that we're going to speak about what happened to the gas company, Impra. I've got an article here from The Express, okay? And I feel a bit weird sometimes referencing different media outlets, because media have a way of portraying the narrative rather than the truth all the time. And I wanted to say that before I quote it, because they're here with this narrative,
Go for it.
So, this is 2022, February the 11th. The Apprentice winner who lost it all and started from zero, his business now is worth 3 million. And it goes on to quote, this is what apparently you said: "It hit me very hard. I was very depressed for a couple of months. And one day I woke up and I thought to myself, there is no way I'm going to let this just destroy me." They're talking about when Impra Gas was sold off to VBH Assets, but then liquidated a couple of months later for 1.9 million. Sorry, liquidated, but 1.9 million pound was owed to creditors. Can you explain exactly what happened in that scenario?
Absolutely. So that first article's talking about 2 years after basically me effectively selling part of my previous business and shutting down part of my previous business. So to give more context, I'll go back a little bit. So 2017, I bought Lloyd Sugar out. We were doing $1 million a year. I then decided that I was going to go national, and I was going to do it as fast as I could. Fast forward 2 years later, I'd built a national business. I had 100 staff. We were doing $1 million a month in direct sales. We operated in every major city in the UK. September 2019, I just won National Installer of the Year, beating British Gas and all the top players. But I had never grown a national business before. First time, first business, right? And in seven years ago, 22, I was a one man in a van. 29, I was a CEO of the largest independent boiler installation company in the UK. And I'd grown very quickly. I had used every form of cash flow I could to get there. I hadn't got any further investment after Lloyd Sugar's 250 grand. That was it. And I built a national company on that, and I maximized every penny to scale. Now, it was a direct sales organization, so it meant that the sales fed the engine, that fed the profit, that fed the cash flow, and we expanded. Now, in a direct sales business, if you have a good month, you have a good month. If you have a bad month, you have a horrendous month. If you don't have recurring revenue, okay, and you haven't got a huge war chest of cash, okay, then, you know, and you lose a lot of sales, it can significantly drain your cash. Now, I'd used all of our cash to build a national business. 2019, November-ish time, Brexit was big, it was happening, we had a warm winter, and I had a 35-man national sales force. I was, my break-even was about 60,000 a day in new business, okay, and I overexpanded into new towns that we just hadn't learned enough about and had everything set up. So I'd put all the money into the back office and resources, but the direct sales took a massive hit. And so our forecasted revenues fell by something like 40%, and 40% of $1 million's 400 grand. You have that done a few times, then that really drains the cash flow. So basically, I'd used all of our cash to get there, and then I had consecutively bad sales months with huge overheads that I couldn't cut fast enough based on the amount of sales that we had because I'd built all the infrastructure. And I came to a point at the end of beginning of December, and I said, this business is going to go down. I thought we were going to make the sales. I thought we were going to achieve it. I had my finance team wrapped around me. We were meeting every day. It looked like we were going to make it through, and the sales just got worse. We'd never seen anything like it, because up until this point, the sales had just kept growing and kept growing and kept growing, because I wouldn't have got national if I hadn't. We'd gone from doing $1 million a year to, $1 million a quarter, then to $1 million a month. And so we just felt like everything we were doing was turning to gold. Everything we touched worked, and then all of a sudden it didn't, and I was not prepared for that to happen. And so I knew in the beginning of December that this was gonna go down. The sales weren't picking back up, and I had very little time to find investors. I had very little time to plan and strategize. We were running out of cash so fast. I had so many people employed, so much cost. It was very, very difficult. It was actually hell on earth. And I just couldn't believe it was even happening to me, because I didn't do anything wrong, and a lot of people said a lot of bad things about me after that business went down, as if I'd stolen the money or something, or I'd run off into the sunset and, I'd taken millions and millions from all these creditors that were owed money. When your business liquidates, you're investigated by the insolvency service. So they go through all of your books, they go through all of your finances, and they check everything. Well, I passed that process, and I wasn't expelled as a director. So there was no wrongful trading that happened. Yeah. So there was nothing illegal done, or I would have been struck off the record. It was just a bad situation that didn't end well, but through no fault of wrongful trading or anything illegal. So I just want to make that clear. But I knew I had to find somebody to buy the business. Anyway, I found a company, recovery specialists. They were willing to buy the business. They were absolute sharks. They promised me they were going to take it. They were going to take all of the debt. They were going to take all of the staff. They were going to take all of the contracts. I wasn't going to take a lot for the business. So that was the caveat for the position that it was in. I wasn't going to get millions and millions like I expected to. And then basically on contract signing day, when they knew that I'd run out of time, they dragged me right out to like 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And then they said, we're not going to buy it actually. And I was like, wow. And then they said, what we will do though to help you out is we'll take the people, we'll take the brand, we'll take the assets, we'll take this, but you're going to shut down the company and you're going to take the debt on, that you've already got, because they were originally going to take it all. And so they played me, and I had to, and what came out of it that was good was that I got all of my staff kept in a job. I had 100 people. That was my number one priority. My second priority was to get the customers and all the contracts and warranties taken care of. They signed that and took responsibility for that. But I had to shut the company down, and that meant liquidating. And most of it was owed to suppliers, which was really, really, really tough. It was horrendous. I didn't want it to happen to them. But as I said to them after, you were back in a business that was growing extremely quickly. If you couldn't afford to lose the money, you shouldn't have overleveraged the credit that you gave us. And you should have that credit insured as a supplier. That's how the process works. I've not done anything wrong here, and I haven't taken the money out. It was a risky business back in a fast-growing business, and unfortunately it hasn't worked out. But I've created a new company with these guys, and they're going to trade with you, and they're going to keep the sales, and you're going to be able to build your profits back with them. And so effectively, that's what happened. And then at 30 years of age, January 2020, I found myself starting again after 8 years. I'd built a national empire, given it my blood, sweat and tears. I'd won the Apprentice. I'd done all this great stuff in my 20s. And then the universe taught me a lesson. And I don't know if I'd got complacent. I don't know if I wasn't enjoying it anymore, wasn't appreciating the gifts that I was given. And I believe the universe said, you need a wake-up call, Joe, and we're going to take everything from you, and you're going to learn the hard way. And I think they stripped everything that I had, and they wanted to teach me. They wanted to prepare me for what's to come. And that's what I tell myself to make it feel okay about the situation. But it's, if we can do this to you at 30 and you can survive it and you can come through this and you can bounce back, you will be able to go on to be a billionaire, because we're going to put you through hell now. And that's really what happened. I passed over the business. I sold part of it. So I went with the narrative for a period of time that I sold it. Yes, I voluntarily liquidated it. All of the papers said I went bust when they picked it up. They didn't give a clear definition of what really happened. Kind of did, kind of didn't. But it was very difficult. I'm a pride guy. I'd done so well up until this point. And one of the biggest things was all the people that wanted to see me fail got the satisfaction for a period of time, because I'm obviously now back in the game big time. And in the last 2 years, I've bounced back to a level that I didn't even know I was possible to be able to do. And so for a period of time, I satisfied them. I'm sure they're not laughing anymore. But it was just horrible. I didn't want to help. I didn't want to hurt people. I didn't want people to lose money. Nobody starts a business to screw people over, or at least I don't anyway. That's not my intention. I wanted to be a success. I wanted to sell that business for millions and millions and millions of pounds. That was my intention, and it didn't happen. And out of your biggest, what I see is positive in life is, as a real entrepreneur, out of your problems can become great solutions for other people. So when I started again, I said, well, what happened to me? Well, you were 22 years of age. You started a plumbing business. You didn't do any business training. You knew nothing about business. By the time you were 29, you'd built the largest independent boiler installation business in the UK. No one has done that in construction at that pace, at that level. So you can't be all that bad. But if you'd have done this before, or had the right training or mentors, maybe you'd been more alive to what could go wrong. Yeah. And so I then started a business called the Trade Mastermind, which teaches tradesmen to become businessmen. And, I've now trained thousands of trade businesses in the last 2 years. I've helped businesses build and sell in the same period as me building my business. And they've benefited from my pain. So I've given back to the industry to educate them on what can go wrong, because success is easy. Yeah, but let me tell you, when it goes wrong, that's when you need to be prepared. I lost the national business. I know what happens when the business goes down. I know how to protect myself. I know how to protect others. I know what to do legally. I know the things to look out for. I know the danger signs and the warnings. So I am so well educated now about what can go wrong that it helps me to become more robust as I move forward with future ventures to ensure that they go right.
There's a quote that always rings in my ear, and it goes like this: adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it.
Yeah.
And I think about that quote quite a lot. And I used to see it on the wall at the first sales company I ever joined when I was like 19 years of age. And one of the guys I used to sit next to, he used to say it every day. And I used to think, what's he going on about this? But as I've grown older, now I'm 37 years of age, it means so much more to me than it kind of did back then, probably because of the experience and stuff. So my question was going to be, if you were going to condense it into a few words or a few statements, that quote of adversity doesn't build character, reveals it. In that moment, that adverse situation that you're in, forget about all the other people around you. What did you learn about yourself when you were going through the adversity?
It's okay to go to rock bottom, but it's not okay to stay there. And rock bottom's a blessing in disguise, because it reminds you where you don't want to be. That I can bounce back. My biggest fear in business was going bust, as many business owners is. And, that fear of business going bust holds so many people back. I've lost everything at 30 years of age. Okay. And I had to start again. I was in the public eye. My reputation got absolutely trashed. Got fucking dragged through the streets. And I bounced back. So I'm way stronger than I thought I was. I'm way better than I thought I was. And I was in the wrong opportunity vehicle. I was in the wrong business. I shouldn't have taken that business national. It was too big for the product and the profit that comes with that sector. And I tell all of the businesses that I train now, do not take it national, take it to a size, make it profitable, cash flow it, and then if you want to build wealth, go into property. You'll not become a multi-millionaire building a boiler installation business. Unless you want to do it in 45 years like Charlie Mullins, but Charlie Mullins is literally a unicorn. In construction, look at Carillion and all those businesses in construction that have gone bust over the years. It's a difficult market, very competitive, low margin, and also lots of moving parts that can go wrong. The business, when I went into the training business, I couldn't believe it. It was so easy. Yeah, I used to run a field team of salespeople, a field team of engineers, a field team of aftercare, plus an office. It's like 4 businesses in one. Now all I do is run a people in an office. It's like the most easiest thing on the planet for me. And the margins are so far greater than what they are running a construction business. I look at people that are in the tech world. The energy to build a national construction business took my heart and soul. It took my life. Took everything from me to take that company to the size that I did. I sacrificed everything. And if I'd have done that in tech, I'd be sat here worth $1 billion now, I reckon, because it was the wrong opportunity vehicle. But the work ethic and the size of that business was huge. And it was wrong place, wrong time. And I'm here to tell the tale. So
yeah. So there's almost the two extremes, like winning the pinnacle of The Apprentice, being Lord Alan Sugar's business partner, having all the celebrities, the glitz glamour around you, running this very successful business, and then it kind of falling over. But then also your own personality on top of that creates a bit of a field day almost for the media.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, love-hate relationship with the media. What's your relationship with the broadsheets, tabloids, and the general media out there?
You have to take them for what they are. They want to report on good stories. So you can't blame them. I can't blame them for trashing me, because I appreciated them for celebrating me. So they celebrated me when I had won The Apprentice, and they'd supported me for years and years and years. Well, of course, when stuff goes wrong, they're going to trash me, but they've since celebrated me again. So as long as you feed them with the right story, Donald Trump loves being in the media. Him being arrested recently he'll be having a field day. If you know Donald Trump, he loves any piece of press he can get. He called the paparazzi on himself. That's a Kanye West song, a lyric in a Kanye West song. Donald Trump, you've seen American Dream on Netflix?
No.
Watch it. It's a 4-part documentary. It's phenomenal. It shows you how he put every element of his life through the 70s and 80s and 90s in the press. His breakups with his partners, his wife, his affairs. He was ringing the paparazzi on himself on the stories, because he knows attention wins. Attention wins the day. Yeah, and you have to stay relevant. And that doesn't mean you can be the golden boy all the time. You can't stay relevant as the golden boy. The media report on negative in most cases. So you have to respect them for what they are. And they're not going to blow smoke up your ass forever and keep saying that you're this champion, especially if you're not a continued champion. They had something valid to report on. I fucking hated them for it. Don't get me wrong at the time. But I understand why they did it. And that's the business that they're in. And, I hold my hands up. I got it wrong and I messed up. So they got me good. And but what it did was give me the fire to bounce back. And I'm going to just tell you one thing, which was, and I owe this to Lord Sugar. He got me out of the head. He got me up, and got me going again. And do you know why I did? Because he retweeted one of the articles saying you can't win them all. He retweeted the article that said former Apprentice winner goes bust. He retweeted the article. I was in bed, depressed, didn't want to get up for a couple of days. And I'd seen this article. I see him retweet it. And it said, you can't win them all. And now this guy thinks he can teach businesses how to do business. And I rose out of bed like an eagle like a phoenix from the flames. And I was like, right, I'm going to fucking show you. And Lord Sugar, if you're listening, thank you very much for that, because you literally gave me the fire to prove you wrong. And that sometimes is what you need. You can take anger, you can take being upset, you can take any emotion and channel it. It's all energy. Channel it into something positive. And it lit a fire inside me, and he helped me again. I don't know if he did it on purpose. Maybe he is smart. Maybe he really did want me to get up, or maybe he wanted to kick me when I was down because I'd bought him out and I'd said some things about him in the past, maybe on podcasts or news or whatever. And he wanted to show me. But I retweeted him 2 years later and I said, listen, thanks very much for that tweet. I went and found it on the exact same day. I said, last month we just did £250,000. I built a £3 million business in the last year and a half. And thank you very much. I'm back in the game now. I'm making money again, and my life's and I'm helping lots of people. maybe a bit of an arrogant tweet, I don't know, but I kind of just wanted to show him to see it, to say, you know, I've probably grown a faster startup than any of the Apprentice winners have on my second time round, and it was all thanks to you.
I've had a few really good people on my podcast recently from the business world.
Yeah.
I've had a guy called Dean Forbes. If you don't know him, look him up. He's exited 4 companies and he's only 44.
Nice.
And the last one was a year ago for €1 billion. He was going to become a professional footballer. He failed to actually qualify. He was at Crystal Palace, and his 2 mates, Rio Ferdinand, Kieran Richardson, went off to become these elite Premiership footballers who play for England, and he didn't, but he found himself in the business world. Then I interviewed a guy called Cole Hartley. You probably know him.
Yeah, he lives just up the road from me.
And then also Charlie Mullins.
Yeah.
And even though they're from different sectors of business, they talk about the same thing, which is culture.
Yeah.
You've got a business now which is turning over millions and millions of pounds. You had a former business that was turning over millions and millions of pounds. And what comes with that is a team. Culture. How much of a big part does culture, that winning culture, play in your empire?
I think it's fundamental, and I think it comes from the top. I think the CEO has to build that culture. And our culture is to be better than you were yesterday. And everybody that shows up to our building needs to know that today they need to be better than they were yesterday. We're looking for continuous, ongoing improvement. That's how you scale, by finding every problem and fixing it with a solution. Fixing every bottleneck, getting into the detail. And we push hard and we push fast. And yeah, it plays a massive part. It plays a massive part. Culture for me is important. What's important is people, and culture works when you've got the right people. I think the culture that I've just described turns a lot of people off. And a lot of people can't keep up with that culture. They don't want to come in and be better than they were yesterday. They want to come in and be who they were yesterday, because their business isn't your business, isn't their business, and they want to come and do the job, and you're trying to push them every day to be great. But not everybody wants to be great, you know, and that's something that I've come to learn is don't keep preaching to people that don't want to change, because not everybody does, and you won't bring everybody up. Okay, so stop trying. As soon as I started to become successful, I spent years and years and years trying to preach to, and I still do it now. But you know, I'm trying to preach to everyone. You can be better. You can be great. You can do this. Everything's at the end of hard work. Blah 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 blah. But some people don't want that. And so having the right people to match the culture is absolutely fundamental, or the culture falls on deaf ears.
Would you say, Joseph, you're a salesperson?
Absolutely.
There's another winner, Mark Wright, who won The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Who's a better salesperson,
me?
You or Mark Wright?
You don't even need to finish the question, me. Mark was speaking at one of my events recently, and unfortunately I was ill and I had to have somebody stand in for me, and I haven't seen him for a few years because I used to spend quite a lot of time with Mark after The Apprentice. We were both dating the same sisters. He was dating Leah Totten, who was a previous winner, and I was dating Jodie, which was her sister. So we both had 2 beautiful girlfriends, and we used to spend time together and go for dinner together and so on. And then after I kind of broke with Lord Sugar, we kind of just went our separate ways. But when he sold his business, I reached out to him and I said, congratulations, Mark, you really deserve that. I'm really, really pleased for you. You know, well done. You made it. You know, it's the ultimate dream for you. You went through it, you came out, you've got some millions in the bank and you've exited. So congratulations. And he messaged me back. So we started talking again. But, you know, if you don't say that you're number one, then you're not a great salesman.
You think Tom Skinner's a good salesperson?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And if
he's a natural salesperson, but I'd beat him as well. And I'm sure he'd say he'd beat me. I mean, I've done millions and millions of pounds in direct sales. I don't think he had. You know, so I go by the numbers, baby. Give me the results. Mark's done millions of pounds in sales as well, but Mark's done it on contracts. So he does recurring revenue contracts. I do direct sales, or I've done direct sales. So I'd say I've sold millions more pounds worth of product than he has. So let's go for it, Mark, baby. I said to him, I've tweeted a few times, we need a winners versus winners super apprentice series. Put me against the winners. I want to go against the top guys. You know, I want a competition. I want to go against all the other winners. I want to smoke all of those other winners.
I see he done a boxing match. You ever fancy having a boxing match with him? Well, both actually, Tom Skinner and Mark
Tom's
Wright.
a unit, so I don't know how big he is. So I'm not sure I want to box the guy. Mark's probably more my size. Well, he's bigger than me, but I don't know. I've kind of wanted to get into it, but I've never really have. I'm just too busy to dedicate the time, and I wouldn't want to embarrass myself. You know, boxing's tough. And you got to train. You can't play at boxing. The professionals say it. I don't want to do a white collar just for the sake of it. You can't play at boxing. You got to train. And I'm very, very busy. And I wouldn't be able to put in the time. And I wouldn't want to get my ass kicked. It would be embarrassing. But if I build my, I'm really highlighting YouTube and content more now. If I build my brand big enough and the opportunity comes and you get a couple of million quid for I'm getting in and I'm beating someone up, then yeah, pay me and I'll do it.
I like your style. Pivoting the conversation slightly. School.
Yeah.
The education system. Do you think school is a waste of time?
School serves a purpose up until a point that it no longer serves the purpose. And you do have to have basic education. You know, you don't want to be in a position where you can't read or write or you can't do basic maths because it will hold you back. I mean, there are things that hold me back now. I'm terrible at IT. I'm really bad with computers and it gets in the way all of the time. But I am a good delegator, so I don't have to do it myself. But luckily, I've got the finances to be able to pay people to do these jobs, and you don't have to do them, but you've got to be a good delegator. But it serves a purpose. But the reason that I wanted out of school and I've got myself expelled, it wasn't by accident. I knew what I was doing every day when I was coming in causing a problem. I wanted them to throw me out. It was absolutely my end goal, and I got it because I don't want to go to art and being told that I can't draw when I know I can't draw. There's no point telling me I'm a failed artist if I know I can't draw. Does that make sense? If I go to science and I'm not interested in learning it and I fail your tests, that's because I don't want to do science. It's not because I'm an idiot, it's because I don't want to do it. If I wanted to do it, then I would do it, but I don't want to do it, so stop making me do it. And so I believe at 14 you should be able to exit and you should be able to go to work, and none of this staying to 18 bullshit. It was to stay by 18 I was already a qualified plumber. I was making 40 grand a year, probably more than most teachers, more than what they make now. When I went to work at 15, I went and worked with a plumbing company for free for a year while I should have been in year 11, and I was a dream employee. I went every day. I never messed about, didn't disrespect the boss, didn't answer back. Whereas a couple of months before, a teacher, I would swear at the teacher. I was horrendous. I hate to look back and see who I was because I was very disrespectful, very disruptive. I'm not proud of that teenage person that I was, and I would never want my son to act how I acted in school. Not a chance. I don't think it was the right way or it was appropriate. All being said, I am going to put my son into private school. He's going to private nursery and he's going all the way up through private because private is not just about the education. It's about the network. It's about how they mold you, the individual that you become, communication skills and confidence and manners and respect and all of that type of stuff that, for many years I didn't really have. So I want him to go through the right education. And, So I think that the education system serves a purpose up until a point. If you want to be a doctor, go to university. If you don't want to be a doctor, don't go to university. There's no point going to university to do psychology and then you don't end up pursuing the career and you go and work in a call center and you get into all of that debt. That's not what it's about. Now, there are some high income skills out there in the marketplace that currently are really in demand. Yeah. Facebook ads, sales, videography, shorts, logo design, funnel building, all of the new social marketing stuff. I launched the Valente University that I was telling you about previously because there's got to be a way for alternative education that you can learn skills that are in demand quickly without having to go through the system. People say, alternative forms of training in most cases are a scam. No, university is a scam. You're getting in 50 grand debt to go and learn how to do a 30 grand a year job. That's the biggest scam on the planet.
Talk about school.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I literally had this said to me, because you've been no good at school, we're not going to offer you sixth form.
Yeah.
It's just, they said it was pointless. And because your grades are not so good, or you've not been very good at school. Mm-hmm. I always attended. I never bunked off, but I was literally ADHD, dyslexic. I just couldn't concentrate.
Yeah.
They said, you basically won't really amount to nothing. Yeah. And I'm 37, so that was some time ago, but I'm still hearing that same sort of narrative and opinion even today, which I find very criminal. What's the advice you would give younger people if a school teacher, headmaster, said to them, you will never amount to nothing because you're no good at school?
Don't let someone else's opinion of you become your reality.
Powerful. Cool.
That's it.
Where are we going to see you over the next few years, mate? Because I know you're very driven, got a lot of energy. You clearly know what you want out of life.
Yeah.
You're now obviously into this newer chapter of your life with your new business. A little bit more about the business, the goals, the aspirations, and what do you want to do personally? Like how much money, what sort of stuff do you want? Where are you going to travel?
So after losing Impra, in 2.5 years, I've built a £6 million training business in the construction space called the Trade Mastermind. And we've got around 2,000 customers. I've helped 2 businesses scale, exit, and sell in that period of time. We are dominating the training sector in construction. We've got no competitors. We're number one, and we're scaling rapidly and doing great things in that business. So I'm going to continue to work in the construction sector. That business will evolve into the Trade Group, which become a one-stop shop for construction businesses. We've launched Trade Recruit, a recruitment company for the construction. We've got Trade Finance, we've got Trade Accounts, we've got Trade Social. So all of these businesses we teach to scale need all of these additional services to support the business growth. So really excited about that. We want to take that business to a very, very big exit. And we don't know whether we're going to sell it. We don't know whether we're going to list it on something like AIM, the alternative investment market, or maybe take it public, or just keep it and cash flow it for years and years and years and use that money to fund other projects. I've recently launched the Valente University because the construction industry is limited in size. Again, opportunity vehicle. I want to be a billionaire. I won't do that serving the construction market with just training and services. So I need to go for a much bigger market. If you can sell a £1 service to 1 billion people, you got £1 billion, right? So I need to go to a £1 billion audience. So I looked at what Andrew Tate had been doing with the Hustlers University. He's made a huge impact, very influential on lots of young men, and has taught them some fantastic stuff, has made a massive impact. Whether you like him or not, that's everybody's allowed their own opinion, but I think some of the things that he's done are absolutely fantastic, and the messages that he preaches in a lot of cases are absolutely spot on. And I think his Hustlers University, it's so successful and been so successful. 250,000 subscribers at £50 a month is £2.8 million a month in recurring revenue every single month, and it's helping a lot of people, is making a lot of money, and it's a great business and a great opportunity. So I thought, right, well, I like a lot of the stuff that he preaches. I want to give back and help young guys. I didn't have a dad. I didn't have a mentor. I've done everything by myself. When I go home, there ain't no one at home waiting for me to come and, make everything right. I've become a man by myself. And that means at times I've gone way off the path and been around the wrong people and have looked for mentorship from the wrong people, the wrong circles. And if I'd had positive mentors very early on, I'd probably be 100 times the man that I am today. But so I wanted to create a product that served a younger, much broader audience. So from 12 to 30 years of age, the Valente University targets mostly male, and there is 1.5 billion people in that demographic. And so it's a low ticket model. It will scale to that audience. And the Valente brand is something that I want to pursue. I want to go into the luxury goods market as my next big opportunity. Bernard Arnault, don't know if you know who that guy is, but he's the current richest man in the world. Goes between him and Elon Musk. He owns Louis Vuitton, Dior, all of the top luxury brands out there in the market.
LVMH Group.
Yeah, that's it, right, yeah. So him, he's in luxury goods market. Why is he making so much money? Because his costs are low and his margins are high. Manufacturing costs very low, selling it for high ticket, high margin, great business. And obviously, he's attracting people think that high end stuff is what the rich people buy. It isn't. Okay. And that's why he's got mass market. So I want to move into the Valente, luxury goods market. One of the products that I'm going to sell and make first is the Valente belt, a bit like a Hermes belt. And I'm going to charge £1,000 for that belt. And I'm going to sell that belt as a minimum of £1,000. And I've said that to a few people. They're like, you can't charge £1,000 for a belt. No one's going to pay you £1,000 for a belt. I'm like, watch me. Everybody said my whole life I'm not going to be able to do it. So that's the first point. Then I'm going to make some more luxury products around the Valente range. And I really want to do an alcohol brand. Okay, I really want to do an alcohol brand. Look at Connor and The Rock and all of these guys, they've built their brands and they've associated it to a great alcohol brand, and they just exits are phenomenal. So you've got to look for markets that are scalable and that are mass market appeal. I want to be a billionaire. I've made that very clear over a lot of the stuff that I've put out. And I want to be a billionaire because I fucking love money and I want to be rich, but I also want to help people. I'm motivated by helping people. Money is actually secondary to what I do. I'm passionate about changing the world. I want to leave a legacy. I want to make my son proud of me. I never ever want to let him down. I never want him to think about me as I thought about my dad. I want to leave an empire for him and his sons and their sons to continue the family name for many, many years to come. What I do now will define the future of the Valente bloodline, and I'm on a mission to make sure that our name becomes up there with the Rothschilds, and I want to create an institution with my bloodline, and I'm the start. My son's going to be 100 times the man that I am, but I'm going to, like Donald Trump's dad, gave him an empire, and then Donald Trump's taken it to the next level. I'm not going to be the Donald Trump because I don't have enough time to get to that bit, but I'm going to be the dad that makes his son. I don't say I make my son like Donald Trump. I'm going to make my son because my son is going to understand that he is his own man, but I'm going to give him the opportunity. And yeah, I like yachts. I like super yachts. One thing that I'm super passionate about is super yachts. I like cars, not overly bothered about cars. Like nice houses, like nice apartments, like nice places. But the super yacht is the one thing that I want. I want a £500 million super yacht, and I want to live on that yacht.
That's a good vision.
Yeah, I want to live on that yacht, and I want to help many, many people.
This is my last question to wrap up the podcast.
Yeah.
When I started my first business when I was younger, I come up with a mantra.
Yeah.
And the mantra goes like this: be happy, never content. Mm-hmm. Now I've got my own interpretation of what that means.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Joseph Valente, what does be happy, never content mean to you?
Great question. And it's actually made me think that's probably my problem, because I'm not happy because I'm not content. But maybe I need to focus on the happiness, but actually don't attach contentness to happiness and divide the two. So maybe you're just giving me something great to think about. Being happy is about enjoying what you're doing, about being grateful for where you are. Not being content is about don't be satisfied for where you are. And I think understanding the two, will actually make me more motivated moving forward. So thank you very much for that.
Top man.
You've ended well. Top man.
Thank you very much for your time. Really enjoyed the conversation. And if everyone's enjoyed this, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember to be happy, never content. Thanks very much, Joseph.
Thanks, champ.
Thank you.